I received a message the other day on my blog with someone asking, what would be your advice for baby ghost hunters? Now, by baby, I think they're meaning newbies, but do I have advice? Tell ya. Check it out. So baby ghost hunters, people that are coming into the hobby that are new. Yes, I remember when I started and how ignorance is bliss. I remember it being exciting and just the thrill of the hunt. And then as you keep doing this hobby, you start learning that not everything is paranormal and not everything is as creepy as you thought it was. So my advice to people that are just starting out in the hobby, number one, ignore the fucking TV shows. Ignore most of the books. Most of the books that are written out there are crap. What you want to do is you want to focus on the mystery, not trying to collect paranormal evidence. That can't be done. If it could have been done, it would have been done decades ago. You know, people have been looking at ghosts and paranormal phenomenon, shit, what, 1880 is when the Society of Psychical Research started. In that amount of time, we haven't proven it. So let's take the bullshit out. What are your odds of doing what all these other men in the past have failed to do? Not very good. That's just being realistic. Don't get your expectations up that high. So what I would focus on is learning to do historical research, trying to validate, is the story actually true? Well, I use three predominant techniques. The first is what I call a literary review. So I'm looking at every single variant of that ghost story that I can find. And that's important because if this is just a ghost story, you know, it's going to propagate over time and elements are going to change. For example, we were talking about the Stanley Hotel the other day, and you go to their website and they got all these, you know, well, we got this ghost and that ghost, and they all have names, and there's the maid that accidentally got blown up and went out the window, and okay, well, the oldest book that I've ever been able to find, the oldest reference to hauntings at the Stanley was actually 1998. It was a small, tiny little book that was written by a local author. And what she's describing there has no resemblance to what they're propagating at the hotel now. And that's a great indication that this is a ghost story that's propagating, and as it's going through time and told from one person to the next, it's getting spookier. So getting every variant of the story is radically important. It's going to give you clues of whether or not myths are building or not. The second thing is historical research. Did the events happen as they say? Here in New Mexico, we have a very famous haunted place called the Lodge at Cloudcroft. It's been on a couple of TV shows. And it's supposedly haunted by the ghost of a chambermaid named Rebecca. Well, the problem is when you go back and try to find a physical person named Rebecca, you're not able to do that. It's kind of interesting because according to the myth, she was murdered by her lumberjack boyfriend. Yet there's nothing in any of the police records that show a missing person. As I started doing the historical review, I actually found an article that a cop saying, yes, I actually did go through and check during those few decades just to make sure to see if there's any missing persons reports on someone named Rebecca. There isn't. I can't find any immigration records for anybody named Rebecca. I mean, much less Rebecca Potter, which they say here's her name. I can't even find one for Rebecca. I even tried variants of the spelling, you know, with a K, nothing. If you can't track it back to a real person, well, again, this is probably a myth. The third thing I think that's important to do is to talk to witnesses. If you don't have witnesses, you don't have a haunting. These days, the common thing is you'll have someone describing all the events, like someone from the hotel staff. Well, over here, Betty Lou saw this. You don't need to talk to this guy, you got to talk to Betty Lou. If you can't talk to real witnesses, the odds of you getting anywhere with it are slim to none. And finally, when you do get to talk to the witnesses, make sure you do the interview properly. This video, I'm not going to go into that. That's a whole big ass long video in itself. I'll make it later. But what I'm telling you to do is approach it skeptically. It's better to do a good investigation and try to look for answers than it is to try to tell people that there's a ghost there. And by doing that, you also avoid the possibility of embarrassing yourself later. This I have learned the hard way. I remember one time there was a trip that we did down in Anson, Texas. I don't know if you heard of the Anson Ghost Light. There's a cemetery and you drive down, there's a crossroads and you park and you turn your car, you flash your lights 3 times and you see this light flickering and it goes across to the cemetery. And they say this is supposed to be the lantern from the ghost that haunts that place. Well, we went there and we turned around, flashed lights 3 times, fuck, here comes this light. Like, son of a bitch, it's true, there it is, there's that damn light. We got excited and went up there trying to look for it and everything. Now this is where I screwed up. I got excited and like, all right. And we were trying to track down the ghost. I remember you get up there and it's messed up because to try to drive straight to it, you have to go up a hill. And when we go up the hill, the light vanishes. It's not seen anymore. So you just can't drive up to it. Then we separated and had one guy up on the hill and another guy down at the crossroads. And, all right, I'm seeing it. And you're like, what? I'm not seeing anything. I know it's like behind you. So we're looking around and we did video of that. And I'll be honest with you, for a long time, that was the most embarrassing video I had. I couldn't destroy it because then I'd be destroying, my teammates would never let me live it down. Destroying evidence of your asshattery, dude. Well, my house caught fire about 15 years ago, and that damn tape burned up with it. And my good friend Ash at the time came up and said, look at the bright side, bro. That damn Anson tape burned up with that bitch. Like, it made me feel better. If you don't put yourself in an embarrassing situation, you're not going to get embarrassed. And the easiest way to do that is to use your brain. This is the most important instrument you have. Not an EMF meter, not an audio recorder, not a camcorder. Use your head. And that's my best advice I can give you. So then, cheers, and I'll see you in the next video.